half an hour. Why are you starting late? What's going on? Anyway, welcome everyone. So we are today learning SUCCAH Daf Vov Amud. Sorry, we did Vov Amud base. We're in SUCCAH Daf Zayin Amud Aleph. So we're, hold on, let me just find this. So on top of Zayin Amud Aleph, approximately hold on a sec. About 6 lines down. Amar Rav Yehuda. Amar Rav Yehuda. Sukkah mavoi kshera. Right? If you build a sukkah like a mavoi, it's kasha. So what does this mean? What's a mavoi? Mavoi is a road where there's two. In other words, 2 walls, one on each side. That's the sukkah. You've got a wall here. It's supposed to tell how we spoke about wall, L-shaped. Now we're talking about 2 perpendicular walls. That's your mavoi. It's like a road. You can walk through the sukkah pathway. That's a kosher sukkah. You need a 3rd wall. We're going to see where the 3rd wall is. So let's see. It says the gemorah. I'm going to the sukkah is a mavoi kshera. V'ai say tefach, the 3rd wall, the wall that's a tefach. So put it wherever you want. Okay. So you've got 2 openings, one on this side, one on that side. You need to put another wall of a tefach. That's your 3rd wall. Put it wherever you want. The top, the bottom, left, right. Free country, do what you want. Okay? Reb Simon, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Vitema. Reb Shuvah Levi, Oymar. What did he says? Ayisale pas arba umashu. You got to make, if, as opposed to where the sukkah is L-shaped, well, you can put your tefach, we said, you can put a tefach anywhere you want, basically. Here, in this case, it's not enough to have a tefach. You need a pas arba, you need a wall that's 4 tefachim, umashu, 4 and a drop, umamida ibapachas mishleisha, and you've got to stand it within 3 tefachim of one of the 2 walls, right? And therefore you have, because with 3, you've got this wall that's 4. If it's within 3 tvachim, so it's together, adds up to 7. And then that's considered a proper 7 wall. Because less than 3, we've got lovered. Less than 3 is lovered. It looks like it's, we look at it as if it's one long wall. So 4 and 3, to the best of our knowledge, is 7. Therefore it's going to be 4 in a little bit, because it's got to be within the 3. Can't be more than 3. It has to be 4 and a drop. And therefore, you have a wall of 7. So if you have Kunta, Reb Simon, if you've got 2 walls like this, mavoi, it's not enough to have a tefach anywhere. You've got to have a proper wall, a 7, a wall of 7. So, or Reb Shuvah Levi, I say pas arba mashu mamidu b'pachas v'shleisha. Samach l'daifen, that wall of 4 needs to be near one of the walls, and then you have a wall of 7. And you've got 7 and 1 and another wall there. Right? Anything that's less than 3 near that wall, it's lovered, and therefore we're going to look at it like it's a wall of 7. Why with it's L-shaped is another tefach enough? But why if it's the sukkah shaped 2 perpendicular walls, you need this a 4 wall plus the 3 of lover to make a proper wall. Basically you need a 3rd full 7 wall. A tefach's not good if the 2 the kosher walls are perpendicular. So it says the gemorah, since here you don't have 2 walls, arba in. So basically what the gemorah is saying is, what's obvious is that if you have 2 good walls, if you have 2 good walls like this L-shaped, tefach's fine. But if you have two perpendicular walls, you need a third wall to be smack in the middle. You need a seventh tvachim wall. Okay. It says a gemorah. Rava. Rava comes along with a whole different opinion, and we're going to see it's a big machlokes what exactly Rava said. Rava. Ve'einun teres. It's not muta, ela b'tzuras haPesach. So again, we're talking about a case you've got two walls perpendicular. Says Rava, it's not muta unless it's made b'tzuras haPesach. Meaning, you've got l'chayra. What he's talking about is he's going back to the original case of. He's not talking about the perpendicular sukkah. He's going back again to an L-shaped sukkah, two walls, and the third wall has to be a tefach. Says Rava, it's got to be ein teres ela b'tzuras haPesach. Meaning, you can have a tefach on each side. Sorry, it's got to be a tefach wall. But that tefach wall is half a tefach here, half a tefach on this side, and there's a beam going across, and it looks like a doorway. You've got two posts, you've got a thing on top, that's called b'tzuras haPesach. It looks like a door. So the tefach isn't together, a tefach wall. The tefach is half a tefach on this side, 5 centimeter doorpost there, 5 centimeter doorpost there, a piece on top, and then it looks like you've got a proper door. Take a look at Taisus. Taisus explains what's going on over here. It's a third Taisus. Taisus says, Pirish, Elim kein asui la'isa tefach. The tefach that you need, so we're not talking about the perpendicular sukkah, we're talking about a right angle sukkah, where you need a tefach. You don't need the full tvachim, you need the tefach. Im oisei tefach, Pirish, Elim kein asui la'isa tefach b'tzuras haPesach. You made from that tefach, from that 10 centimeters, the b'tzuras haPesach door entry, over the whole entrance. Ketzad, how does this work? What does that mean? Half a tefach on one side, half a tefach on the other side. The kanal gabeim, and a beam going across the whole thing. It's awesome. And now it looks like that whole wall is closed. That b'tzuras haPesach, it looks like there's a door that's supposed to be there. So it looks like it's a closed doorway. It looks like a closed wall. So now you've got two proper walls and the b'tzuras haPesach, a doorway. The third wall is a door. You can have a door, big door, meter door, 2 meter door. That's your third wall. But for it to be considered a door, you have to have doorposts. You've got to have a thing on top. Okay. The Perek comment the Erevin. The Gabe Erevin we say lo yavinen shiura lekana shotzos Pesach ela fidikana mashu. When it comes to Shabbos and we try to make it b'tzuras Pesach, you don't need the half a tefach. You can have a bamboo shoot. You can have a kana. Anything is fine. You don't need the whole half a tefach. As long as you have one little beam on one side and one little piece on the other side, you're good. So why here does Rava say you need a b'tzuras Pesach? There's got to be a tefach. You got to have half here, half a tefach here. Why do you need half a tefach with the sukkah? But Shabbos, one thing's enough. Says Taisus, it's a good kasha. If it's working within b'tzuras Pesach, let's look at Shabbos. We're going to see. We learn one from the other. Let's look at Shabbos. For Shabbos, you don't need half a tefach. One bamboo shoot's enough, right? Says Taisus, Ella, sorry, let me sure lekana shotzos Pesach. Ella afilu kana mashu mekan mashu mekan gabeim. Ella shetei bria de lamu b'deles. Vafilu deles shakashin kabi sukkah. Sorry, afilu deles shakashin. As long as this bamboo thing is strong enough to hold up some type of door, if it does a door of straw, of hay, whatever, a light door, it doesn't have to hold up a solid metal door. As long as this thing is strong enough to hold up any excuse of the door, it's a Tzuras Pesach. It's a doorway. It's a doorway. Says Tais says Gabi Sukkah Chmiru. When it comes to sukkahs, we're more machmir the be'inan mechitzas and karis. It's not just enough it can hold up a door. It's got to be nicker. You got to see from far that there's a door here. But Shabbos you don't need mechitzas and karis. It just has to actually be able to hold up a door. With sukkah you have to see from far that there's a doorpost there. That's why you need a half a tefach, and you see it clearly. You see, there's from far you'll see there's a doorpost. If you see just a little stick of wood, that's not enough to be nicker. That's not recognizable. Okay, says the gemorah. So that's Rava's opinion. That's the first way we understand. The first opinion in Rava. Rava says in order for this tefach, when you have an L-shaped sukkah, has to be half a tefach on one wall, half a tefach on the other side. The beam coming across, you see a doorway. It looks like that's where the door goes, and it looks like, and it's kilu, the whole wall is covered. Says the gemorah. Sorry. Ikudarmi, there's another opinion. Ikudarmi Omar Rava, that Rava said, Viniteris nami b'tzuras ha-pesach. It also needs to have a tzuras ha-pesach. Meaning, let's see the last opinion. So, what's going on over here? Some say that you. Oh, Shalom Arav. Do I have pictures to show you? So, one way of looking at it is that you need to have also Tzuras Pesach, meaning you need to have your 4 tefachim wall. You need to have a tefach, or you need to have. Let's see it in Rashi. I'm not going to be able to explain this properly. Take a look in Rashi. Tzricha nami. It's approximately 10 lines from the bottom of the narrow lines, right? Mashma the tefach sheshaninu v'niteres nami b'tzuras pesach. The tefach sheshaninu. What does it mean? The tefach we said you have could appear Rabbi Simon. Ayis estimas tefach eitzel hayotzeh. Also Rav Aleim with him. Also tzuras pesach. Apekal do from b'shnei kanim kolshehu kolshein. V'kal gabeim kaylei b'makom tefach machshalek v'asei. That's the first opinion. In other words, you don't have to have. That's what we said till now. When there's nami b'tzuras pesach, tzuras pesach works instead of having Rav Simon's din of having a wall of 4, right? And the other opinion, the ikadami is with tzricha nami tzuras pesach mashut davai bin, and you need also tefach eitzel hayotzeh. V'kana b'zov shekel v'kana shakabein v'kaya tefach zeh. So you need also Rav Simon's din of your 4 wall, and then the rest of the pesach has to be. You also have to have a tzuras pesach on the rest of it. It's not enough to just have like your wall of 4, of your 3 plus your wall of 4 plus your loved was 3, right? And then the rest of the Pesach you got a 30-meter door open wall. That's not good enough. Rava says you have to have a tzuras Pesach on the rest of it, but you got to put some type of beam at the other side and a thing across, and that shows that you got a wall of 7, and the rest of it's closed with this tzuras Pesach. Tzrichanami tzuras Pesach. Big machlekes, and what did Rava say? Is the tzuras Pesach work without Rav Simon's din of a pas arba, or he says no, it works instead of the din? What did Rava say? So the Gemara says, story time. Rav Ashi ashkechel Rav Kahana dekavit tefach sheichek. Rav Ashi saw that Rav Kahana did a tefach sheichek. V'kavit tzuras Pesach. He did also tefach sheichek, and he did the tzuras Pesach. Amalei le'sava ma lahad Rava. You don't hold the Rava. The Amar Rava. There's nami b'tzuras Pesach. Rava said it's good enough if you have a tzuras Pesach. Amalei ana kiddush lishna. I hold like the other lashon of Rava. The Sfirei lei Amar Rava tzicha nami tzuras Pesach. I would like Rava that says you need also tzuras Pesach. So I'm not saying of just tzuras Pesach or just a tefach sheichek. I need both. He holds like that lashon. Okay, says the gemorah. Shtaim kilchasan, right? Amar Rava v'chein Shabbos. So the gemorah is going to make this connection between walls of Shabbos and walls of the sukkah. V'chein Shabbos. The same din applies to Shabbos. That what? Again, you're not allowed to carry in Rosh Hashanah. But let's say a guy puts at home. His home is 2 walls, like this. That's his house. His house is 2 walls. He's got a tefach somewhere on the other side. Is that called a Rosh Hashanah? Can he carry it? Or is it Rosh Hashanah? Says the gemorah, v'chein Shabbos. If it's good for sukkah, if it's your sukkah, it's also a private rishus when it comes to carrying on Shabbos. So I can carry on Shabbos there. V'chein Shabbos migu david doifel in your sukkah. Since now migu means since. We can say since it works for sukkah, this one tefach wall. There's a halacha Moshe Sinai. The tefach works to be a 3rd wall. Since it works for sukkah, migu david doifel in sukkah, david doifel in Shabbos. So it also works for Shabbos. So Eisivei Abaye. So ask Abaye, is that true? I mean, Migu. We say it since it's sukkah, since that creates a wall for sukkah. Now it's a private rishus on Shabbos. It's not called you carrying in rishus Rabbah, which isn't the Raisa Vatanya. We learned in the Brisa, Doifen sukkah kadoifen Shabbos. The walls of a sukkah have the same dinim as the walls of Shabbos. Ubevad, as long ben kan tefachim. So what's the din? We said that you have a whole wall, and you got like a bunch of thin reeds, thin sticks. You take a bunch of bamboo sticks, you stick it in the ground to make up your wall, right? We're not talking about your 3rd wall, even one of your first 2. So as long as between each bamboo shoot there's less than 3 tefachim, we say loved, and it's like it's closed off. It's like it's one proper wall. You don't look at it like the whole thing's an empty wall, just a bunch of bamboo shoots. You look at it like it's all connected, as long as each bamboo is within 3 tefachim. And similarly, it could be horizontally. You could have a string, 5 strings, every 30 centimeters. You get to a meter, I think in 3 strings maybe. That's as long as they're loved, it's a wall. So says the gemorah, we say, as long as you don't have 3 tvachim, as long as you can use loved, it's a wall. But Shabbos has a chumrah over sukkah. What's the chumrah of Shabbos over sukkah? Shabbos ein in the teres ele ba'omed meruba laparetz. On Shabbos we say it's not mutar ele ba'omed meruba laparetz. You need to have more wall than open. On sukkahs, it's fine to have. On sukkahs, it looks like 90% of it's open. On Shabbos, that's not called a wall. You have to have aymed meruba laparetz. You have to have more wall than open. Masha'en came to sukkah. That's not true in sukkah. In sukkah, it's fine to have 90% open using loved. So gemorah now is going to make my love. You say is Shabbos to sukkah, a sukkah. Oh, is it not true that we're talking here about Shabbos of Chag? We're not talking about regular Shabbos. On Sukkos, right? It's Shabbos. One of the 8 days is Shabbos. So you're sitting in your sukkah on Shabbos, and your wall in the sukkah, it's a kosher sukkah, you put a beam here, beam here, beam here, beam here, and now you got a kosher sukkah, right? Are we not talking about that Shabbos? It turns out that on that Shabbos, it's a sukkah, but guess what? It's Rosh Hashanah. We just said that's not called Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos. So you see from here that you don't say migu, that since it's good for a sukkah, it's good for Shabbos. The Brisa says, no, you need parrots, you need more wall than open. And you see from that you don't say migu. V'layamina migu. Is that not what we're talking about? We're talking about Shabbos on sukkahs. And it's a good sukkah, because we love it, but you can't carry that. You can't carry that. The gemorah says, the Brisa says, you need more wall than empty. You see, you don't say migu, and it's a kosher sukkah. You're allowed to eat that. Someone could put food in your mouth, you become the mitzvah, but you can't carry it. It's just a rabbin. What does it lie? No, we're talking about, you say Shabbos the Alma, al Shabbos sukkah. When Brisa said, normally on Shabbos, you need to have Amud Meruba, that's talking about a regular Shabbos. not Shabbos and Sukkah. A regular Shabbos, for it to be considered the private domain, you need to have more wall than open. But on Sukkahs, it's fine. On Sukkahs, we'll say Migu. Since it's a kosher Sukkah, now it's also a private domain for Shabbos, you can carry there. Loi, you say Shabbos, the Alma, Shabbos, Sukkah. The Gemara says, if that's true, that we say Migu, that since I can use this, in other words, it's clear from the Gemara, let me just clarify this, it's clear from the Gemara, that just because on Sukkahs, Shabbos Sukkahs, you can carry that doesn't mean the rest of the year you can carry that. Normally this is not a wall. No one will tell you a bunch of bamboo shoots is a wall. But since the Torah says that on Sukkahs this is considered a wall, now it's also a wall for Shabbos. On that week of the year, on that Shabbos of the year of Sukkahs, you're allowed to carry that. But the rest of the year you can't carry that. It's a regular deraisa carrying. So there's this migu magically turns into a wall, also for Shabbos, even though the halacha Moshe Messina wasn't talking about on Shabbos, that it's a wall for Shabbos. But since it's a wall for Sukkot, now it's got a wall also for Dinei Shabbos. But the rest of the year, you can't carry that. Ihachi says the Gemara, listening nami yisera Sukkot da'alma, a Sukkot de Shabbos. Let me say another din. If you're telling me that, then say a different din. That what? Yisera Sukkot da'alma, Sukkot de Shabbos. Sukkot is no more wide. Ila Sukkot da'alma, by tefashaychek. We said sukkah da'alma, a sukkah normally needs a tefach sheichek. You need more than a tefach. It's got to be within the dalet lover to make a wall of 7. Really sukkah de Shabbos, late by tefach sheichek. A normal Shabbos wall, that doesn't need a tefach sheichek. Right? So why? So the Bryce should have said, you know what, that there's different, if the Bryce is listing the differences between Shabbos and Sukkahs, and you said you need paritz, ayud, amaruba, here it's good, there's not, there's a same difference. I'll tell you something else. On Sukkot you need tefach sheichek, and Shabbos you don't need tefach sheichek. The sagi belechi on Shabbos is enough. You have one beam, you have a lechi, kasha. You don't need to do this whole tefach sheichek thing. Kilu, you create another wall over there with 7. Says the Gemara. Why didn't the Bryce add this as one of the differences of Shabbos and Sukkah? Da and the Amud Yomi movi sheish lechi kasha. You agree. Sorry. Besagi belechi. On Shabbos, you don't need to have a tefach sheichek. It's enough to have like 2 things on either side and a lechi. You will admit to me that if you put a SUCCAH on top of a lechi, if you have 2 perpendicular walls, and you have a lechi on one side, and you put SUCCAH on top, it's kosher. So why don't we say that is a nafkamina between Shabbos and Sukkah? There's no, of course it's partial. You don't need to say that. If we're going to learn out mechamir telekilta, if we're going to learn out from Mikilta lechamirta, from Shabbos, which is Kal, we're going to learn to Sukkah. So Mechamirta lekilta like Kal Shekain. We're for sure going to learn out the other way. So the Gemara doesn't have to tell me that. Take a look in Rashi, the bottom Rashi. Mechamirta lekilta mibayi. The movi sheish lechi zakav the kosher lesukkah de Shabbos. Sorry, V'hasha b'kilta lechamirta amina migu david defin l'sukkah de kilo david defin l'Shabbos de chamirta. We'll say a migu, since it's a defin for sukkah, and the sukkah is more cow, david defin l'Shabbos de chamira. If we're going to go ahead and say that these beams, right, these bamboo shoots, is kosher for sukkah. The sukkah is much more cow than Shabbos. Shabbos is a carrying deraisa. But if the migu tells me that since it's considered a wall for Sukkot, it's considered a wall for Shabbos, and now I can carry there also. So mechamir telekilta, mibai, of course, I can learn out the other way round. That if it's a wall for Shabbos, then it's going to be a wall for Sukkah. In other words, it's a kol shekain. If we learn one way, for sure we're going to learn the other way. If to matter you a Sukkah, we say you can say love it, therefore for Shabbos is also being good. For sure, the other way, if something is good for Shabbos, a lechi and then for sure it's going to work the other way, and tell me that sukkahs is going to work also. Okay. I do want to see a Rashi over here if you have time. Hold on. One minute. Okay, I can't find it. This one. I don't find it. Okay, we'll wrap up over here. Okay. Shkoyach.
That's a chutzpah. You've disappointed your friend in Pardes Hana again. He demanded a